So when I started this YouTube channel about 5 years ago and just getting into it, I would have plenty of discussions with my car friends about what I would do and what I would say if I reviewed certain manufacturers. And there was a bit of a running joke when it came to if I would ever review a Mitsubishi, and it would have gone something like this. Pretty harsh, I know, but at the time, Mitsubishi really wasn't a compelling brand except for the fact that they offered a 10-year warranty. They weren't coming out with any new vehicles and they were killing off essentially the only thing that enthusiasts could care about, the Lancer and the Lancer Evo. It was a real shame for people of my generation to see Mitsubishi be one of the aspirational brands in a way in terms of performance that you could no longer support. The only thing that could ever be discussed was that they will sell you a brand new car with a 10-year warranty. And I know there's a lot of people out there that just need a transportation device and they intend to keep it for as long as it will go. And that's an offer that some people couldn't refuse. But that was then, and this is now. This is the 2023 Mitsubishi Outlander, and it's based on a platform that has been co-developed with Nissan and Renault, as those names and Mitsubishi are now part of what is called the Alliance, a big conglomerate car group, so that they can churn out more vehicles more profitably with more shared components. So what exactly is the Outlander? It's a compact SUV with 7 seats. It has a 2.5 litre 4-cylinder engine that has 181 horsepower and the same number in pound-feet of torque, mated to a CVT, and has all-wheel drive as standard in Canada, what Mitsubishi calls their super all-wheel control, which truthfully I don't know if it really differs in technology compared to what I've experienced previously in the Nissan Rogue, a vehicle that I found perfectly acceptable, but you definitely have a fair few more different, let's call them off-road driving modes here in the Mitsubishi than what I remember in the Rogue. The Mitsubishi is also offered as a plug-in hybrid model, which has 2 electric motors, a 2.4 litre engine, and a 20 kilowatt-hour battery pack. That is a vehicle that I would like to try out at some point in the future, but what do I have in front of me? This is one of the top spec models, the GT, and you can clearly see that it is a little more upmarket with leather in this cabin. These seats are not only very plush, but they feel very soft, and a lot of the leathers or leatherettes that you're seeing throughout the cabin are super deeply padded foam. Like, you've got more plushness in some places than I've experienced in higher end brands. That doesn't necessarily mean that this is going to beat out premium brands in terms of quality, but this is certainly something that is appreciated and admired in this Mitsubishi. There are a lot of components in here that are immediately recognizable to when I tried out the Rogue. For example, digital instrument cluster, the touch screen, the whole array of buttons for your climate control, and the shift lever here, to me, looks almost exactly Nissan, but there is some changes. So the arrangement of the cup holders and what's going on here in the center console is definitely different to the Rogue. The Rogue had a cavity underneath this console space, but in the Mitsubishi it is just a slot on either side that's good enough for sunglasses, really not that much more. So the cabin of the Mitsubishi I actually quite like. I think it's impeccably made. The material choice outside of the leather and leatherettes is pretty good. There's a little bit of gloss plastic, so not the end of the world, but it is strange that we have the fake carbon fiber here by your window switches and this glossy, like, try to be metal weave thing going on down here. So a little bit of inconsistency, but I really don't think it's all that bad. The second row of seating is pretty good, and I really like to see this feature multiple pockets in the seat backs. I think a lot of families will find that incredibly useful. And the second row comfort is really good. There's a nice big scallop section for my head, and I'm 6'4", so sitting behind myself isn't a worry. And one of the big selling points, if we want to call it that, for the Outlander is that it has 3 rows of seating. This and the Tiguan, I believe, are the only compact SUVs left that have that available. And in the Tiguan, it's an option, whilst here it's standard offerings. But truthfully, they're a bit of a joke. You cannot sit in those back seats if you have legs. Like, I'll be honest, you have to be sitting cross-legged or have nothing below the hips at all. Like, I don't even think toddlers would be comfortable back there. Look at this. Having those middle seats back in the furthest back position is only enough for me to span my 2 fingers out in a peace sign. That's the amount of space that you get. And even if you push the seats all the way up in the second row, there's really nothing there at all. They're just another thing that's wrapped in this leather. And a really annoying thing is that with the headrests, you have to detach them if you want to fold those seats down. Thankfully, you can hide away those headrests underneath the false floor alongside the security cover. There is space for them. But in the Tiguan, that doesn't need disassembly to fold those seats down. So if you're buying this as a 7-seater, I really can't see a reality where you could fit 7 people in here. There's just not enough space inside. But if you do fold all the seats down, and with the middle row they do split 3 ways, it is a very practical vehicle. Just don't put people in the third row. That's all I'm going to say. Even though they've got a little space for storage and cup holders and all that, no, just don't do it. So the interior, pretty good, ignoring the criticisms that I have towards the third row, but I think people are going to be very realistic about that if they actually try this vehicle out for themselves. So what about the rest of the car? Driving experience is a mixed bag, if I'm honest. Things that I like, even though it's not really a powerful engine, I do think when you put your foot down, it might be a little coarse, but it isn't rattly. It doesn't vibrate away at the cabin. And when you're going at highway speed, I actually think it's fairly quiet in this cabin. The feeling of this Outlander is quite floaty. You can see just when me turning the wheel a little bit that the car is heaving side to side. If I actually take this quite sharp 90-degree turn here, not going on reasonable speeds, 30 kilometers an hour, but like that is a fair amount of head bob. So they've made this car to be comforting. Even in light braking, you feel like you're kind of being pushed down towards the road, and under hard acceleration, it really is enough to lift up the front of a car a bit. So if you want a boat-like wafty feel from a car, the Mitsubishi Outlander might work for you. But with these 20-inch rims, which I have to say I do like the look of, a lot of that softness is lost. If you hit a patch of uneven road, it does shake the car about a little bit. It's not what I want out of a driving experience, I'll be honest. The big letdown, though, is the brakes. They work, they do their job, but they are so soft in the pedal, it honestly made me think this car was running out of brake fluid. There's a good 3 or 4 centimeters at the top of the pedal where it slows you down 1 kilometer at a time, and it doesn't feel good enough. I've really hit the brakes, like even pushing hard down and engaging the ABS as I did there. I don't feel like I'm getting that pushback on the pedal that gives me the confidence that if I see a deer coming across the road and I slam across the brakes, I'm going to stop and I'm going to be okay. I really, really don't like that, and I don't remember the Rogue feeling like that at all. So if Mitsubishi has tuned this car to feel like that, that is very surprising to me. And it's something that if you're going to be shopping for an Outlander, you really need to give it a few hard presses yourself to give it a try. So that's where I'm wrapping up my review of this Mitsubishi Outlander, a vehicle that is truthfully no longer a joke. It's a vehicle that if you were to go and spend your hard-earned money on, I don't think you'd be disappointed by it. I don't think you'd be excited by it either. But realistically, there's not a lot of cars in this class that I think anybody could be excited by. If it was my own money, I'd probably be ending up in something like a Mazda CX-5 because the driving experience of that car is far superior to this, and that's something that honestly really matters to me. But you might get in this Mitsubishi and like its no-nonsense interior and kind of having everything that you want and think that's more than good enough. So once upon a time where I would have made a black and white video joking that the only good thing about this is a 10-year warranty, you get a much better car than what you would have done maybe 5-6 years ago from Mitsubishi, and you still get that 10-year warranty. So thank you very much for taking the time to watching this video, and I hope to see you again on the channel soon.